Hi, love leaders. It's Dr. Shannon Roberts, your host for the Love Leading Podcast, where we discuss how to create connection in your most important relationship that God designed, bringing health and sometimes healing while deepening intimacy. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Love Leading with Dr. Shannon podcast. We have such a great episode planned for you guys today. I always enjoy not only bringing in couples and sharing love stories, but I also enjoy bringing in the couples that I've worked with in my program so that I can hopefully show and instill hope that it too can be something that you too can have out there. So I have a special couple really queued up and ready to go. One of my favorites. This is Cory and Maria, and they are joining us today. So welcome, Cory and Maria.
Thank you.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much. So we were just talking about, gosh, how long has it been since you've been through, you guys did a 2-day intensive, and then you did a follow-up program afterwards. Was yours 6 months or a year? I can't recall.
I think it was
probably
6 months.
Don't remember. 6 months? Okay.
I think so, yeah.
6-month follow-up program, and that's now been 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then we done 2 more sessions.
2 more sessions after the 6 months.
To do just your maintenance kind of checkups, which is awesome. I know, I love that because I've been really sharing with my community out there that, you know, your relationship is needing just as much annual maintenance as like you get your physical exams, you get your dental, cleans. So, why not just continue to schedule those relationship follow-ups, because you're protecting the investment and the effort that you guys put into it. So diving right in, we want to understand exactly kind of what you guys did. So gosh, tell us a little bit about you. How long have you been married? Just maybe a little tidbit of how you got to know each other, and then we'll dive in about some of the things that were going on that brought you to the intensive.
Me? All right. We've been married 26 years now. We met on a blind date. My aunt worked at the same company Maria Maite worked at, and introduced us, and we ended up talking on the phone for hours and hours and hours, and fell in love and got married. I mean, there's a little more to it.
So blind dates still work out there. Goodness.
Well, they did 26 years ago.
It did.
Oh my gosh. Do you have anything that you want to add to that, Maria?
Well, we got married 3 months after we met. So that was like the first, it took us 7 years to get pregnant. So those 7 years were like the eternal honeymoon. You know, it was almost like the dating and the honeymoon for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So then kids came.
And now you have 2 lovely grown daughters, correct? What are their ages?
19 and 16, mostly grown.
Mostly grown. They're the verdict is still out because their brains are still cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But you guys are in the thick of it. You're transitioning these wee little ones into the adult life, and that takes a lot. So congratulations to you on that. All right, so take me back. That was a blind date, 7 years of honeymoon bliss, a little bit of challenges getting pregnant, and then a fast forward. I do know that couples have they have the internal dynamics of the relationship where fireworks or shutdowns and their lines of communication. We're going to talk about that as well. But a lot of couples have these outside forces of life stressors, oppressors just pushing in. And you transitioned into parenthood. Fast forward, you both kind of experienced some health challenges. that, you know, dynamically impacted your own individual, but your own interaction with one another. So tell me in your own words, what was going on? What was the nature of the relationship that really prompted you to think you needed to reach out to me?
Me? You?
I can,
Go ahead.
I'll give my version. I mean, in my version, I was in the middle of going through cancer treatment, and kids were teenagers, and it's like the identity, trying to identify who I was. Was I a mom? Was I a wife? And there was a lot of disconnect between Cory and I. I didn't feel heard. It was resentment. So, and the kids, I mean, just life with teenagers by itself, it's difficult. Then you add to that having cancer during the pandemic. It was really difficult, and we were not communicating.
Right, right. That is challenges in enough health related. You're not at your best self. You are transitioning into parenting teenagers with probably very differing parenting kind of ideals, styles. And then COVID hits and you're like under one roof. Big challenges. Cory, do you want to add to that at all?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the biggest problems with us, the not communicating, was that didn't even know it until we got with you, but we didn't know how to communicate. Like, we didn't understand where the other one was coming from. We come from really different backgrounds. She comes from a single parent family in Mexico. I come from dual parents in Ohio. So pretty two different ends of the spectrum. And we just didn't fully understand. You know, we were kind of looking at two sides of the same coin, and we were seeing different things. But so a lot of the miscommunication and arguments and everything we had was just because we didn't really understand where or why the other person was coming from.
Right. Yeah, and so that's kind of where we start. There are things that we have difficulties talking through.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just mentioned, the challenges of parenting teenagers, the challenges of working through cultural and ethnical, differences. But also it's how we have those conversations that sometimes are problematic because they don't allow us the ability to get to the other side of that work through on those situations. And so we start with that cycle. So, I guess this is a little test for you guys 2 years later. So typically it's pattern that in those moments of what we feel like is an emotional kind of impact from our partner, that we have an action tendency to either flight, which is a ramp up, or fight. I mean, a flight, which is a move away, or fight, which is a ramp up, or a freeze, which is a shut down. So what's your cycle? What do you guys do in your cycle?
I am the fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the Latina. I am going for it.
You're going for, and I get it because I'm a ramper upper too, Maria. I understand. Okay.
And I'm more of a freezer.
Yeah.
Freezer maybe is the wrong word, but avoider. You know,
shut her down. Yeah. You are uncomfortable with conflict, and Maria is
only with her.
I know, right?
Everybody else in my life, I don't have a problem telling you, standing up for myself and telling you what I think. But with my spouse, I have a hard time with it.
Yeah, she's a spicy Latina. Yeah, that's exactly right. So in that dynamic, in and of itself, doesn't lend itself. So the more you shut down, the more she ramps up. The more she ramps up, the more you shut down. And so hence that cycle that you guys were doing for quite some time, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely. All right. So tell me, you come in, we start working on kind of understanding and mapping this cycle. tell me kind of what was your experience in working through that 2-day intensive and the follow-up program? But a lot of people are like, 2 days, what are we doing there for 16 hours, 2 days in a row? Tell me that experience for you guys.
Well, it was amazing, actually. And I think it went faster than I would have thought, because the first part of it was just us telling you our life story, with you then asking some pointed questions in the middle of it, and then the other person commenting, or at least interacting with that part of it.
Right.
And we were able to see sort of why number one, you helped us identify the type of person or personality we are,
Right.
help the other person see why we're that way. And then everything just sort of clicked into place about who I am, about who she is, where she's coming from, how I present myself, how she presents herself. And it went really fast from there, because it wasn't so much, we all go into these things thinking, oh God, I don't want to do this for 2 days, Well,
Kinda like
this is going to be
signing up to go get your tooth pulled or
for
something.
2 days, right? Or just everybody yelling at me. And that's just,
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's like,
it's just not the way it was at all. We had a good friend who came to you before and couldn't recommend you highly enough, and that was enough to get me at least on board. And once we got in, I've turned into, I don't know about when you're biggest fans, but I'm such a believer in what you do and how you do it, that it was a pleasure, honestly, for 2 days.
oh, thank you for that. Yeah, it is such an honor when you find that lane and help couples kind of find each other and navigate the towards back to each other. It's really a blessing, really a blessing. So, okay, so we worked through those 2 days. You really kind of identified and began understanding why your partner does the things they do and what the meaning behind of them is, because we kind of go into brain understanding and romance, attachment science, and all this stuff. And I hopefully I make it not so boring, but what were your main takeaways that still kind of resonate with the two of you?
Well, to me, the biggest thing to me, it was I didn't feel heard, but I wasn't listening. And to me, that was huge, because there's always an ask when somebody comes to you. There's something that they're requesting. But
Right.
in my case, I would be already thinking of what I was going to answer, instead of just paying attention and being present and taking the emotion away and think thoroughly. What is he trying to tell me? What is his ask? And if I don't understand the ask him, what is this? Why are you coming to me? And again, non-emotional. So if it's not the right time, it was waiting for the right time. And then talking more with the head and not with emotions. To me, that's been huge and helped me throughout. And also the story I'm telling myself. Oh, that's so big.
I
So,
love
so
the
big.
timing aspect, because you've had to really tolerate kind of waiting until some of those emotional kind of things were not on notch 10, but given Cory space, because it takes him a little while to process, right? So I love that. All right, we'll go into the story you're telling yourself. I love this too.
Oh, it's like, because he again, like Cory said, you took us apart, helped us again understand who is here, who we love, and why we love him from the get-go. And then saying, okay, you freeze, you don't like the confrontation. So it's like, and what was going on in my head is like, he doesn't want this. So I would create these elaborate stories. And then the problem used to be so tiny, but it became bigger because of what I was telling me, reading his reaction instead of listening. And again, I love it. It's not doing it with emotion, doing it with when you're calm. and letting him find a time that he is open to have a conversation. So that's the story I was telling me, is he doesn't want to talk to me, he's mad, he's, or not even voicing my concerns because I already know how he's going to react or what he's going to respond. So it's just a story.
I love that. I want to emphasize that because I see this over and over again. By the time that you guys get kind of down the road and you've been doing this kind of dance in your disconnect cycle for as long as you have, most couples say this too. Like, I already anticipate what my my partner is going to do. I already know their dance moves. I already know their word go-tos. I don't, and but that point, I'm making my decisions based on what I already think they're going to say and do now. And so now I don't even reach. Now I just,
and I'm angry with them for that.
Add to
what I
that,
think
Cory.
they're gonna say.
Go ahead, add to that, because I can so relate to most couples, and most couples out there can relate to this. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I mean, in the frame of mind we were in, I think, is not only do I know what she's gonna say, but I don't like it. So I'm angry with her before she ever has a chance to say anything.
Right.
Because I already assume I know what she was gonna say or react or how she was gonna react to whatever I said, just
because of that story that we tell ourselves about our partners, right?
Yeah.
We make those decisions based on our own judgments. All right. So then what about you, Cory? What were some of your takeaways?
From the session or from the session?
I guess you could talk about what it was like with the 2 days or from the whole program, but like main, like kind of things that still resonate with you 2 years later.
Well, I mean, just what we learned about who we are and how stimulus affect us, like from the time she was little, you can see some of the behavior that I don't have the training or the knowledge to be able to identify those things. But when we've still got the paper you drew our life stories out on.
Yeah, doing some of that family of origin, a little bit of genogram, kind of deeper diving to understand why.
So I could,
we tick
I can understand. I'm sorry. I could understand better why she reacts the way she reacts, or maybe in a certain situation present something a different way because it might not be received in the manner it's intended to be. But a lot of it was just understanding who we are and where we're coming from and how to approach things. Like the thing about the protest, when you have a problem, we still struggle with that a little bit because you go through your life and you forget things if you don't practice them every day. But whenever she does come out and say, hey, I want to lodge a formal protest on this, but what it does is it puts me in the state of mind going back to the sessions where I can say, okay, calm down, hear what she has to say, know while I'm hearing it that I'm not going to answer. I'm not going to defend myself. I'm not going to say anything. All I'm here to do is take that information in, process it, and let you know that I heard what you said. And I understand it. Whether I agree with it or not, it's a different point, but at least she knows I heard her and I understand.
And that's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
But you've said a lot and I love it. Let me just break it down. You have this common language because of this common experience, and you can go in with that language and now you have an understanding of what's coming your way, and you already knew how exactly that you could have approached it in the old way versus the new way, so you get to practice. And your old cycle. Your old cycle was, I'm hearing defensiveness, and the new cycle is leaving room to share without judgment and being able to validate. So I love that. That's huge. I'm so glad to hear that you guys are doing that 2 years later. So, all right. Oh my goodness. You guys have given a mouthful. So where are you guys today, 2 years post intensive and in programming. Are you back to your love story? Is it kind of honeymoon bliss again?
I think we're getting
I'm
We're
really
getting there.
setting you up, aren't I?
there. Well, I think we're getting back to a place where we're really comfortable with each other. I mean, we sat down this weekend and did a budget. We've never done that before. And, it's sort of the kind of thing that tempers would ordinarily and frustration, would be rising. And I think we both handled it really well. We ended up working together all weekend on it. And at the end of it, we were proud of ourselves and proud of each other. And it went really well. I was really pleased. I don't think we'd have done that 2 years ago. I think we'd have ended up getting a fight without a doubt.
Oh my gosh, that is so fantastic. There are strategic things that couples fight about, and I do some premarital counseling. And one of the things that I ask is if they categorize themselves as a saver or a spender, and they're usually these two opposite attracts, which should balance each other out. But when you don't have this communication, the want to sit down and talk about uncomfortable things is so big. So that tells me a lot. I'm so glad. And I know this for some of you out there, this is an audio. But as Cory was sharing that, Maria was smiling. So I'm imagining that there was some really good outcome with that. So fantastic. Anything else? What about the gains for you, Maria?
Oh, too many to count. Honestly, I find joy being with him instead of just being angry and walking in eggshells. Now he's my friend. I gained my friend back. That friend that 26 years ago would make my heart skip a beat, and I look forward every time he opens the door. Oh, he's home, and it's a smile on my face. So we're getting back to that. I'm not gonna lie, it takes time. It times a lot of work, a lot of compromising, a lot of, talking and listening. But it all is worth it. It's all worth it. And you made such a difference, because I've worked with therapists for over 10 years, and I love her. And with me, it works. It's all about me. But the way you brought us together is so organic that, as you know, I came back to you with my teen daughter, and when we came to you, our relationship was really bad, and now it's great. So it's not just as couples, it's also, with your daughter, you have this magic touch that you get relationships, honestly. So yeah.
As much as I like you, I adore your daughter. Oh my gosh, you guys did such a great job with her. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yeah, Cory, a lot of times when I do a phone consultation with a couple, because I know that 40% of the effectiveness of counseling is finding the right fit. You obviously had word of mouth. Sometimes couples did not. But a lot of times men are thinking, I don't know if I want a woman in the room, because that means I'm outnumbered. There's my wife, and then there's the female therapist, and I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. Can you speak to the men out there in my community and my ecosystem about kind of what your experience was, given that you were the only man in the room?
I'd be happy to, as long as you guys turn your ears off for a sec. Well, to be honest, it was her idea to come.
Okay.
And since it wasn't my idea, the story I'm telling myself is that I'm going to go in there and get railed on for 2 days. And in reality,
that's not uncommon. I get it. I understand.
Yeah. And what happened was, on a lot of the things where I thought that I was right, you thought, not that I was right, but
You felt validated.
I felt validated, right? And you were able to take my words or my feelings and translate them into something that wouldn't offend her. So I was able to make myself understood without getting her upset, which would normally happen, and vice versa. She was able to say things that upset her. You filtered them and maybe changed them into my personality type a little bit more. And we were able to tell each other things that we haven't been able to tell each other for 15 years because you were an intermediary. And that made all the difference. Is we didn't exactly know how to communicate because we didn't understand each other. We knew each other inside out, but we didn't understand each other that much. And what you helped me to do was understand her. So the scary experience I thought I was going to have turned into be something that was enjoyable, because it wasn't you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. It was like, oh, I get what you're saying. Maria, do you understand what he's saying? And it's, oh yeah, I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah. So yeah, people who have not been to counseling before or have will say, gosh, what do we do in there behind those doors for all that length of time? Or the ones that have and said, I just went to counseling and we had the same argument in the counselor. So I'm so glad that you said I kind of held the safety in the room for you to have conversations that you probably tried to have had a long period of time. You said 15 years to your point.
Maybe.
But hopefully have it in a different way with different experiences so that you can begin to have those emotional shifts in the room towards each other again. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, there's one other thing at the risk of embarrassing you. I like watching people who really know what they're doing do that thing. Like if you watch an amazing painter put something on there, a sculptor or something, you can just go, wow, I see what you did. It all makes sense now. And I see how it all fits together, and you make it look so easy. When you did that for us, it was a pleasure to watch you just break down what we were saying. You got a sort of formula, I guess you use, or at least a structure.
Yeah.
And it made so much sense. It was just, you just go, wow, yeah, oh, yeah, oh. And it was just, it was a pleasure. That's why I'm such a fan, because what I saw you do, I've dealt with other therapists or worked with other therapists too.
Yeah.
Nobody ever did it as artfully as you have.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. You know, when you're right, when you find people in their lane and they love and are passionate and they're called and purpose, it is a beautiful sight. And I admire all the kind of people that have those same kind of skills. And so, but what I want to say on the other side of that room is now watching you guys do this right now. And see, I get to see you on the screen. I know everyone else doesn't, but just to see the smiles and just to see you sitting, I mean, you guys really did the hard work. And so thank you for that. It's been an honor to be partnered with you, and you don't get rid of me. I mean, from here on out, you at least get your annual checkup from me every week. I mean, every year. So I get to be a part of your life. And so that's the joy of it. Thank you guys so much for being a guest. Is there any last bit of just, encouragement that you want to offer any couples out there?
Well, I would just say to the guys who are hesitant about doing it, it's a leap of faith, but it's worth it. It's you just won't be sorry you did it. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do, but it's well worth it.
And I would like to add something. I'm Catholic, and he doesn't practice a religion. And I think it's important for people to know, because when they read the name of your business, it's religion based. But I gotta tell you, it worked. The religion wasn't touched unless I brought it up.
Yeah.
And then it was between you and me. And if that's something that some people think, well, it has religion, you set the tone. You as a client set the tone, and you respect it. You respect how that goes. So
I think that was one of the first questions she asked, and one that said not really, like, okay, we won't deal with that.
I
So-
totally forgot about that. Thank you for bringing that up, Maria, that, yeah. Even though I work a lot of times with faith-based couples, that is one of the, initial intake questions so that I can cater how much of that specifically to each individual couple that is desired. So I appreciate you mentioning that for sure.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah.
so
All right, we're so glad to have had you. I am honored and I am so appreciative. Thank you, Maria and Cory, for being with us this afternoon.
Welcome. Been a pleasure.
you're welcome.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.